And we say hello to James Creedon.
Hi, Francois.
Talk about competing narratives.
That's it. I was just going to say it as ever with, well, increasingly across many different issues, you have different narratives, facts, alternative facts, whatever. So it's a bit of a mess to sift through it, but I'll show you some of what has been shared vastly online. One video that has been shared a lot is the by now infamous video of a 19-year-old man being shot in the back. He's being referred to here as a Palestinian boy, but he is a 19-year-old adult, I suppose. And I won't play the video, but it shows him being shot in the back, and that drew a lot of criticism from observers, intellectuals such as the writer Raphael Glucksmann here in France, who said there's no reason to shoot in the back of a 19-year-old kid with a tire in the opposite direction to your border, your position, nothing, neither the fanaticism of Hamas nor the threats, the real threats that weigh on your safety. This is an assassination. So that's kind of just perhaps an observer who isn't fully biased giving his criticism of that. Meanwhile, Israeli media are certainly emphasising the fact that the profile of some of those who were crossing the border is questionable, and who was pushing them across the border. Was it Hamas? There's this report that a 7-year-old girl, indeed, was crossing the border fence. Meanwhile, this is the Times of Israel taking information from the Israeli army that 10 of the 15 killed, of course that number has since gone up to 17, at the Gaza border were members of terror groups. That is then being denied by the paltimes.ps, basically by Hamas. So looking then at official communication online, you can see that the Israeli Defense Forces are famously well equipped in that regard, tweeting in Hebrew, in French and in English. And some of what we're seeing on their English page are videos, very slick communications videos about the terrorists of the violent riots. You also have in French being presented. I think it's fair to say that the choice of spokespersons is not accidental. It's a young, pretty, I suppose it's not tough kind of military guys. They're choosing their communications people, I think, quite well. It's females for the most part, giving these videos everything you need to know about the riots in Gaza today and putting forth the Israeli army position. Meanwhile, Hamas, much less slick in terms of their communication, less resources too, of course, and they've been tweeting just in Arabic and with not at all the same degree of, I think, slickness or ability to have that spread out into media in the English-speaking or French-speaking world, for example. Now, a couple of other tweets, of course, the hashtag Great March of Return or March of Return, that's sort of doing, if you like, the communications, the pro-Palestinian communications on behalf of the Palestinians. So you have, I think, the court of public opinion kind of coming down well over 50% on the side of the Palestinians in this regard, but you can even see that there have been protests in Tel Aviv, critical of the Israeli army's actions. Stop shooting unarmed Palestinians. Of course, lots of support as well being expressed online for the Israeli army. I want to thank all the Israeli security forces who are working around the clock to protect Israel. We love you. Now, I'll just finish with this because perhaps it's the most kind of neutral analysis that I've seen online. It's a piece by Haaretz, Chemi Shalev, saying that the Gaza carnage is a propaganda victory for Hamas and a Hasbara nightmare for Israel, Hasbara being public diplomacy in Hebrew. And the piece goes on to say, if commanders of the IDF don't find a way to repel efforts to breach the fence without causing so many casualties, Israel's predicament will grow exponentially, because of course we know this is set to continue until the Nakba day in mid-May. And if the bloodshed is repeated over the 6-week campaign, the international community will be forced to refocus its attentions on the conflict, with analogies to Mahatma Gandhi, apartheid South Africa, and even the struggle for civil rights in America, superficial and preposterous as they may be, framing the next stage of the Palestinian struggle. That's Hamas's, Haaretz's, not to be confused with Hamas's position on or analysis of that.
All right, many thanks for that, James Creedon. I want to thank our panel once again. Thank you for joining us here in the France 24 debate.